Welcome to Brick by Brick, where we'll be speaking to younger and older members of the LGBTQIA community, establishing a timeline of the efforts that have brought us this far, and looking toward the future at the work that still needs to be done. This show is brought to you by One Roof Chicago, a nonprofit organization dedicated to building a queer, intergenerational housing community on Chicago's South Side. My name is Chijioke Williams. I use she, her pronouns, and today we'll be speaking with Tori Small, whose reputation alone has endlessly impressed me. Hi, Tori.
Hi,
Can you tell us your name and pronouns?
I'm Tori Small. Pronouns are they, them.
Incredible. Let's just jump right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was born right here in Chicago in Bronzeville, which I think there will be a lot of similarities and overarching themes. I believe through all your questions, which life is in general, everything is connected. That's how I came up with the name Small World. But just to say, just a quick note, I don't even have to say how important Bronzeville is to Black people in America, but especially Black queer people and culture in general, because we know Black queer people make the culture. But I guess to kind of make a long story short, because there's so many stories. I went to SIU Carbondale, and I went there for accounting. Yes, and graduated high school from Homewood Flossmoor in 2009. And yeah, so I went for accounting, and after college, did not do that at all. I found myself, because of life circumstances, in Hyde Park. And I was familiar with Hyde Park, but not this Hyde Park. So my brother went to Hyde Park High School. I attended camp some summers at the 63rd Y right across the street. I remember when there was a Dixie Kitchen on 53rd. So yeah, it was I guess just a coincidence that I ended up back in Hyde Park, essentially homeless. You know, couch surfing. My sister, who isn't even from here, sister-in-law, she's from Philly, happened to be living in Hyde Park at the time. So there I just kind of discovered that, like, I was kind of in this queer mecca. Yeah, that was late 2015 and then going into 2016, which I believe was like a golden era. I believe that was the era of... I think Chance won a Grammy that summer. It was like I could get an Uber for $3, like with somebody else. That was like, and that was something that I needed. And you know, it was a dark time for me because going to college and I don't have a job and I'm supposed to be doing all this. But I started photography literally after my graduation. I got a camera, and yeah, just started exploring something that was an interest, but then became a need and a job at the same time, and freelancing, and then led me into discovering the arts community at the time.
We've been saying Small World over and over again, but I don't think we've actually said, what is Small World Collective? Like, what happens at Small World?
I don't know, but I feel like if we don't go back here, then I'm gonna forget it. But okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Small World is something that is fluid. It's still defining. You know what? I just came up with that right now.
There we go.
Because it's been troubling trying to define it, just like it's been troubling trying to define myself. But one thing I can't define, that it is an extension of me. It is family, community oriented, loving, forgiving, all those things. So we can put it at that. And also, biggest thing is space creation. And the next space is this Sunday for Aura at the Promontory.
And would they normally be every Sunday? Or not every Sunday, but is it always on Sundays?
Sunday has always been the day. So Energy was on Sunday, and Energy went every Sunday for years up until the pandemic shut down the bar that I threw it at. But yeah, Sunday is a day that is for community. It's the Sabbath. And I don't want to limit it to that. And I also don't want to limit it to just one thing. That is why when I initially started Small World Collective, what I was inspired by were people putting on spaces in that way, but I noticed them all being named their party. And that was never going to be me. So I created Energy, and Small World was already it. And I created Small World before Energy came about because I already knew then it wasn't just a party. You can be a party in a collective, but yeah.
And I really appreciate you speaking on that too, because both to it being Small World and a collective, I have met so many people at your events who have gone on to become incredible friends of mine, but also who I see in the arts community throughout Chicago. I'm talking musicians, singers, dancers, other photographers. It really is a small world, the queer and artistic community in Chicago. Yeah. So it feels like your events have been this doorway into joining the artistic, joining the Black, joining the queer collectives in the rest of the city. I may not have had as many of the connections that I do today had it not been for going there. So
really?
I truly mean that.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard for me. It's hard for me to admit that. Yeah, because I'm not in a lot of those conversations.
You have people, again, talking about you and your artistry more so than telling it to you. Is that?
Yeah. And I mean, the articles, the interviews, the things that would usually come from what you say that I do, that I have hoped to do. But I guess part of that journey is not needing external validation, and if that is the heart and soul of what it is to be Black and queer. So that is it. To be able to do without the validation has only strengthened me and Small World more.
Wow. Not needing that external validation is the heart and soul of what it means to be queer.
And Black.
Same
time. We can't do it separately, which is crazy. Sometimes I wish.
Yeah, and that's actually a phenomenal segue to our next question here, because the current political paradigm, we've talked a lot about it in the last few episodes. We don't necessarily want to give too much power to, the folks trying to take it from us. However, it's been a dark time for a lot of people. A lot of folks are scared. But you're, pouring your heart and soul into this work for Black queer joy. Can you talk a little about this emphasis that you have on making spaces for us when the rest of the world, is trying to take those away?
It's always been my motivation to have what I always wanted. I've always been a caregiver without realizing. I guess that wasn't the exact question, but what is the reception of the events now is this is the beginning of a new era. It's a portal. It's me stepping out into a new complete version of myself, more vulnerable, more authentic. Not that I wasn't before, but it's a different era, and as we're going through this dark time, I have recently gone through the darkest time of my life, and it coincides. And I can't say I'm on the other side, but it definitely feels like it's definitely on the down curve for sure. So I can't say what the reception will be, but I know that is just what drives me to do it, and what I'm supposed to do. And kind of like, you don't say thank you for all the trauma, but whatever has happened to you shapes who you are. And the same goes for me, and it happens to be a lot of not good things, and that is true for Black and queer people. So why do I make the spaces? Because I need it, and I feel like for the first time, I'm going to actually have it. And it's been 7 years. 7 years of doing the work of Small World, but which is, I'm sure, a symbolic number that I can't pinpoint the meaning behind right now. But the first time that I believe that I'm going to experience it, and part of that tumultuous time of me, of what I was going through, things, and the world at the same time mirror. And it's not just me; it's all of us. Mm-hmm. I recently learned that, I can't remember what placement is it. Is it Pluto? What Maybe. Pluto and Scorpio, whatever our generational placement is of. I was born in 1991, mm-hmm. So wherever I fall in that, and the people around it, is transformative. We will change the world. We're the kids that grew up, and we were the first kids to know, like, hey, this world is like kind of messed up. Like, can I curse?
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah. This world is kind of messed up, and you may, like, when you get older, climate change and things like that are going to affect you. So we as children were the first ones to be given that and not know what to do with it. And Gen Z is the next generation of that, of course, and was it Gen Alpha after that? But you see, we were the first to, like, hey, this isn't sustainable. Yeah. Our parents did not have an idea that the extraction, the taking, that way of life was not infinite. We had to, I don't think our parents were thinking about the things that we were seeing on TV, like, in the, what was that cartoon, Captain Planet? Oh, yeah. Yeah, Captain Planet.
You too can save the world type of vibe.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. We're going to have to save the world, right?
Yeah. I grew up thinking a lot of the very same stuff. And it was kind of confusing to be seeing, like, oh my gosh, all these things are falling apart, but the people older than us don't necessarily seem to care the same way.
Yeah, so like maybe it's not real. Maybe I should worry about something else. Yeah, like, I think we all kind of got the same gaslight, and then it was like, okay, and then that older generation didn't leave. And they
became politicians and the people who, like, actually, make decisions for us.
Yeah, and they stayed. They stayed, and yeah, I think even yes, I'm 33, and sometimes around family functions, somebody asks me how tall I am. I said I'm 33 years old. Can you stop asking me how tall I am?
Yeah.
I stopped growing years ago.
Ask me what I do. Ask me what brings me joy. Like, ask me something important. I hear that.
Yeah.
And I mean, so I guess if we're talking about the world changing, if we're talking about the people making decisions for us and the things that actually need to change, first of all, do you consider your work, Small World, actually, let me roll it back even more. I consider your work as a form of activism because it is a form of defiance in the face of a world that would like to erase us, that would like to not acknowledge that we exist, that would like us to be miserable if we do exist. And you're, cultivating and curating a space for artistic defiance, for people who make music, for people who dance, for people who create art, and having them all in one space to meet and congregate and network and all of that good stuff, which helps us build community. And so while I consider that activism, I wonder whether you do yourself.
I do. I consider it the activism I can do. because not all forms are for me. It is actually what brought me back to Chicago. I was homeless at the time and still technically in Carbondale, not really having any plan. And I wasn't really talking to my sister at the time. We had whatever disagreement, I can't remember what it was. But she calls me and she says something happened to my nephew. That he was assaulted by a store owner on 53rd at a store called Valley of Jordan because he went to the school nearby Kosminski. And me hearing this, I got on the train. And at this time, I didn't know that I wasn't going to go back to Carbondale. This was just me going up for support for my nephew. I organized a protest, and it introduced me to activism, and it made me realize that there's certain forms that aren't for me. I'm not the boots on the ground, organize the protests, or show up at the press conference type of activist. That is not my path, and I respect it. But even though I never did anything with accounting, and I didn't accept myself as an artist, I have always been creative, but I've always enjoyed math as well. And the accounting choice was supposed to be stability thing. So it would be a disservice for me to not incorporate the number, the business part, the logical part of me. It's activism in that way of as an alternative to capitalism.
Ooh, activism as an alternative to capitalism. I mess with that. I like that. Yeah. And I guess rolling forward, so let's talk about some of your wins with Small World, with your parties. Like, what are some specific moments you can point to that kind of had you keep pushing, that gave you more motivation, that made you say, oh my gosh, what I'm doing here is working and I love it and other people love it and I want to do it more? Is it like specific parties? Is it specific things people have told you? Is it just seeing all those people in one room vibing, being happy, being joyful?
It's like the saying goes, it's a million little things for sure. It's hard to point to one moment. But I would say that moment, the moment of a room full and seeing the joy when I'm able to take myself outside of it, because I wear a million hats. So it's definitely hard to experience that, but something that I'm going to be a little bit more, I'm still going to be me, but be more intentional about in my next chapter for sure.
And let's talk about that next chapter. What is the name of this party? What can folks expect to see at it? What can people, what encapsulates it? What is it?
The name is Aura, and it's a rebirth, and I love a pun. I'm a punny guy, and everything is almost a pun. Yes, and energy was the predecessor, and now we're at Aura, and there are all of the same elements, but just a rebirth and evolution, transformation for sure, but evolution in a way of transformation. Because I am not ashamed of the past, and it's ingrained in all of us and in me. So what you can expect there is artists of, I guess, more mediums. We have Rabbit Tag, also known as, Brianna Farley, also known as Rabbit Tag. She is a tattoo artist. She will be having stickers there for sale, but it's also time for you to interact, get booked, get on them books. And I know we don't have too much time, but our connection and how she became a member of Small World is really the theme of what the activism is of. I am still broke. And you know what? I ain't been broke the whole time, but I went through a transformative era that came with a huge financial downturn for me after some sort of, feeling like, okay, maybe I will finally, start paying back them student loans. Maybe. No, I'm not going to do that. But after what I felt like was a peak, I got down to a financial place that I can be real, that I never thought I would see myself at, that I know I'm not an experience alone. So I say that to say that I leaned into bartering more than I have, and I met Brianna through bartering to get a cover-up tattoo that was very transformative of a shitty ex. Of a bad ex. Of a bad ex. And from there, she became a member of Small World that I'm happy to introduce this Sunday. But also another one of our members, Ja, who is resume is long as mine, so we don't have enough time for me to say hers. But
we may have about 2 more minutes if you want to roll through and tell us. You can give us their names and what they do.
Ja, who has apothecary and body work.
Oh, very cool.
And she will have her chair and some of her products for sale this Sunday.
Look forward to that.
And then we have Simone, and they did the last amazing photo shoot with me, and then pictures of me and Michelle, who is kind of my co-captain at Small World, and also my partner in love of my life. So family things, and we have another event talking about polyamory at Dorothy. That's coming up on March 6th. But the cover photo for that also taken by Simone, but also we were just friends anyway. But there was a barter of I don't even have time to go in it, but of bonded jewelry, which will also be at Aura. I will not necessarily be at the table, but bonded is something that I guess started through Small World and screamed to be its own.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I also love, you were talking about this, like, anti-capitalism and Black joy. I'm loving this emphasis on not necessarily trading resources through money, but trading resources through what we have, like our skills, like trading one skill for another. It seems like that's the kind of thing that you can do in your own local community outside of currency, money, etc.
Yeah, and it's really an antidepressant. It's a mental health thing because it gives me back. I'm like, you want this thing for me? That's worth this. That's worth this cool thing.
Everything you do has worth.
Like, and it, it's hard. It's hard for us to find worth in that. So yeah, and
we've got about 30 seconds left.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you really quick, is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with? Talking about joy, art, community.
Everything is connected. We need it all. Community creates joy, creates art, and we're all connected. It's a small world.
That it is. You've been watching Brick by Brick here with Chijioke Williams and Tori Small. Make sure to check out Tori Small, Small World Collective, Aura, and what's your Instagram?
Small World.
Small World.
Small World Collective.
Small World Collective. Look them up, look us up, and remember, it's all connected.